And we are live. We are live, episode 24 of the Coin Jam podcast. Only a couple minutes late. Thank you. Thank you. Hold the applause. Hold it until the end. I think this is technically, like, we haven't made a big deal about this, but this is, episode 24 means, are you going to eat those chips with your microphone on? Oh, my goodness. Those ketchup chips from the Great White North. Look at that.
Someone mute Chance.
I prefer all dressed, which does include ketchup flavor. Ketchup chips are okay, but I prefer all dressed. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Well, yeah, so episode 24, does that technically make this our 2-year anniversary? Or are we finishing 2 years and then the next episode? I don't know how it works. It's a milestone of any kind. But we're here. We made it. Somehow my channel logo is broken on StreamYard. So I don't know how that's going to work. Welcome, everybody. Let's check out who's here in the live chat. We got a lot of folks, actually. But, of course, I'm Charlie from Overtime Arcade. I'm joined, as always, by Chance from the Canadian Arcade, Liam from Retrobotics, and Kay is not here. Kay's boss is making him work late today, so everyone tell Kay's boss to frig off. Let's see. We've got Arcade Alex here, channel member. Encore's Arcade. Brandon Billy Bob, channel member. General Strife, Command the Line. Penner Station, Russell's here, another channel member. Who else? Sean Kirkshank, channel member, also a moderator, so he'll keep an eye on anyone misbehaving in the live chat. We've also got Wayne, channel member. Papa Sean 69, channel member, tubing in from Peterborough, Ontario, as always. Anthony Presley. Jerry Voluptuous, channel member. Jerry's up late. Jerry was working hard today making pizzas. Gallagher Guy 88, Venjax, and yeah, Sean, that's the joke. Kay is his own boss, so whenever you all see Kay, tell him his boss is a jerk. I'm going to go ahead and get the party started by cracking open a cold one over here. We've been dealing.
I'm in danger.
Heineken always smells skanky to me. But, man, I've been busy. I know. Are you drinking Heineken also?
When have I drank anything other than Heineken on this show?
Haven't you had Rolling Rocks?
Is that an American beer?
It's also in a green glass bottle, similarly decorated.
No, I have no idea. I've never heard of said drink.
I'm going to go ahead and rep my buddy Dell, and maybe if he sees this, he will come and join us in the live chat. But yeah, things have been crazy here. Weather's been, just nuts. We got another snowstorm, and then another one this morning, and then it was 50 degrees later in the day. And the flu is just running rampant. I got two of my four kids are down with the flu, possibly one more. Work's been crazy. There's a lot going on. How about you guys? Any health, any sicknesses going around your neck of the woods?
Just got over the flu myself.
It's going around.
We have a federal order no longer to be nice to Americans.
That's okay. That's all right. Your money's still good here, so that's fine.
Uh-huh.
And I have temporarily suspended any tariffs applied to super chats denominated in Canadian dollars. So that's all fine from my perspective. Let's see what's going on. Command the Line has to leave for work, so listening on the go, that's great. Yeah, Billy Bob will be getting into the emotional damage. Let's see. Command the Line says his friend is the new owner of FabTech. Yeah, I heard something about that, how somebody, like the FabTech trademark or whatever, had lapsed and somebody just bought it and is now using it, which is awesome. I do have my tissues ready here to cry into, Arcade Alex. Let's see, what else? Okay, yeah, all dressed chips are the GOAT. And hopefully my connection's good. Sounds like some folks are having issues. Yeah, and Sean also thinks that Chance was drinking Rolling Rocks in the past, but yeah, Yeah, and I was running late. I've been again running around crazy. I was just cleaning up the arcade down here. I had a cabinet all taken apart and now it's put back together. I got stuff going on running in the garage that I have to keep an eye on. So yeah, we'll be getting into some emotional stuff this evening. But Yeah. How are you guys doing?
Not bad.
Just been working.
I can't keep the shtick up.
No.
I can't. Yeah. I wanted to be a jerk the whole episode, but
I know that would be a stretch for you. So
right. I can't. Yeah. These are great, by the way.
yeah.
Too bad you're not going to get any.
Where are those made? Okay. Are they? What does it say? Product? Does it say product of Canada?
These ones. Somebody back me up on this. Lays in Canada are made with Alberta and Ontario potatoes. I'm 90% sure. Yeah, here. Oh, here we go. Frito-Lay, Canada, Cambridge, Ontario, Kentville, Nova Scotia, Lévis, Quebec, and then Tabor and Lethbridge, Alberta.
It's pronounced Frito-Lay in Canada?
Wait, hold on, wait. That's all I got.
Yeah. How about you, Liam? How are you doing?
Could be better, but moving along.
Yeah. Good. All right. So, as you guys know, maybe the reason Kay didn't want to come on is he, figured he'd get too choked up talking about, what we're going to be talking about today. But he might join us later. He gave us a heads up. He might be joining later. Gallagher guy 88 talking about the Popeye that was for sale in I think it was Southwest Ohio for $50. I know a lot of people were trying to jump on that, but alas, I think I was talking to Troy from Troy's Restorations. He's in Ohio. He was going after it, but somebody else got it. So General Stripe just got his first soldering iron for his birthday. So they're working on restorations, which is great. And we'll be getting into some touchy-feely subjects in a little bit. But as normal, we'll start off by talking about recent pickups and game room updates. Why don't you get us started, Liam? What's been going on in your game room?
We have not picked anything up over the last month, but we did rearrange the game room. We rearranged it so we could fit Inferno. Inferno is now in the lineup. That required kicking all the 90s stuff except X-Men out into the hallway and moving a bunch of our classic rasters around. The Vector room is basically how it was, but now we have a lot more space. I think we could probably fit 4 or 5 more uprights in the main arcade. So room for future expansion and or if I ever get any of the projects in my garage working.
And you did do a tour video of the state of the game room before you made all those changes, so everyone can go see and reminisce on the way things were.
We figured it would be good to preserve, considering whenever we rearrange to make space, the end result is that space is made, and space looks awkward when you have gaps in the lineup where you can put things eventually, but there isn't something now. So figured it would look much nicer as it was then than doing a tour as of now.
Well, and I know you and Sam have made so many changes. I even remember, your earliest videos way back in your old house with the wallpaper and all that, right? So you've come such a long way. And speaking of the Inferno, it seems everyone has an Inferno now. They're popping up all over the place.
A lot of people are making them.
I saw that
the trend.
I opened up Facebook this morning and I saw John's. I was like, oh.
So I've been trying to track these things. I've been trying to track Infernos and figure out how many of them are out there and try to figure out the history of the game. I've been talking to people who remembered it back in the day and trying to see what I could. I went through pretty much every issue of scanned arcade magazines from 1985 that I could find. And I could only find 3 references to Inferno. It's crazy how little they advertised it. There's a full page ad in the Canadian Cashbox magazine, and there was one in Replay that was just a little column, and then a tiny little back page classified ad for the conversion kit for Inferno for selling for $495. But true to form, it seems that there are only 50 machines made, 50 dedicated units.
Well, you got yours for less than $495, right?
Yes. And it will be our cheapest Williams restoration until we buy joysticks. That'll drive the price up quite a bit.
And again, those joysticks were never used on any other game, right?
No, they were Inferno only. No,
were they in the conversion
blaster
kits?
joysticks?
They're close.
They're not. They have the same grip, but they're actually 8-way opticals. They're closer to bubbles.
Yeah, but like physically, when you look at them above the control panel, they're close. But I know what you mean.
Yeah,
semantics.
Could you make one by mating a blaster grip with a like arch rivals mechanism?
The answer is yes, asterisk.
It's like trying to make Tapper joysticks out of like Galaga joysticks.
Yeah,
you can do it.
From what I understand, I don't know enough about the process. I'm not going to make these myself, but it's more involved than that.
You coward.
I just want to highlight Random Pixelated Billy Bob getting us started with a $500 million super chat donation, adding it to the ransom money fund for Kay. I don't know. Maybe if we get these super chat donations up high enough, he will grace us with his presence. But there you go. So, what's a monster? Are you? I know, Chance, you've been working a lot. So is that monster going to be keeping you awake, or what's the story there?
1 second. We just. Oh, I want to get you demonetized. Hold on. Yeah. Wait. There we go.
That was airsoft. There we go.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah. How's work been?
Busy. Very busy. Yeah. We were supposed to do this a few days ago, but I had some work conflicts, so we had to postpone to today. So thank you for being patient.
It's okay. We love you. We give you a lot of rope.
Yeah.
Keep you on a long leash. So
to hang myself with.
We love you.
Very hob. What about you, Charlie? Have you picked up anything since the last time that we talked?
I have not picked up anything.
Wow.
Let me look at my notes here. No pickups yet at all this year. Wow. I do, however, have 2 trade pickups pending, but I'm not in any hurry, and the other party's not in any hurry. We'll make that happen at some point, but I got to free up some space before that happens. I do have some game room updates. The Tetris cocktail that I restored in December, and the Pac-Man, Ms. Pac-Man rather, upright that I took 2 years to restore. Those have officially left my house. Those are now set up in the office at work, our new office. We even had a little party there. Some folks were playing. Tetris got a lot more play than Ms. Pac-Man did for some reason. Really? And I did see one coworker got really confused. They were trying to rotate the joystick to rotate the tetrads or whatever, tetronymos or whatever they're called. They were like, it's not working. I'm like, what are you doing?
Is this one of your employees or
no,
of another part of the? Okay.
So the engineer, like I'm responsible for all of the engineers. This was a salesperson, so make of that what you will. But yeah, I had to say like, no, you got to hit the button to make it rotate. They were trying to spin, and it was it's a Wicco that they were trying to spin, and it wasn't working. And they're like, "Is this thing broken?" And I'm like, "No, but if you keep trying to do that,
it will
you might break it." Yeah. So that's good. Those are all set up there, and I got a ton of room. I can actually probably put maybe 5 or 6 more games in there at some point, which would be awesome. Nothing too much going down here in the basement. I'll mention a little bit, like I said, I had a cabinet out. I was doing some stuff to it, and I got another one sort of off camera, kind of opened up. But out in the garage, I've been busy. So I did JAMA January, which nobody really watched. But I set up 2 cabinets to be, horizontal and vertical JAMA cabinets to, swap in games really easily in and out all the time. So my horizontal cabinet is a kind of uncommon East Coast Designs UV19, which is sort of like a dynamo, but it's not exactly a dynamo. I'm going to be sort of putting an art package in that for WWF Superstars, but that's my horizontal setup. And my vertical setup is a Dynamo HS5, so pretty typical Dynamo, but it's a 25-inch version. Excuse me, and that's going to have at least a marquee and side art for Top Gunner, Konami's Top Gunner, which of course is the arcade version of Konami's NES game Jackal, which is a favorite of mine. We got another super chat donation here from Galaga Guy 88, $499 million super chat donation. Says it's for the next Heineken. And I don't have a little ice bucket here. I have a little mini fridge, but it's outside of the game room that I might have to sneak out to and grab a second one. But thank you for that donation, Galaga Guy 88. Yeah. So I wonder, command the line, if you could set up Tetris, and you probably could wire something to those LS30 rotary joysticks. I don't know. You might have to have some logic involved to make that work. I'm not exactly.
I don't think you would need to. I would just think that you would need to like those rotary joysticks. Yes, but like,
yeah,
if you get something that just has the rotation in it, like you could just wire the button to it. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe
they're all on the same ground line. Just make your A button the left rotation or the right rotation, depending on.
But that joystick, I think, sends a pulse, not just a.
Yeah, but you don't.
It's not just a switch.
Yeah, but that's those rotary joysticks. You don't need a rotary joysticks. You just need something that has the turn to it. And I mean, like even a
quarter
Nintendo
turn.
joystick,
Yeah.
I can't remember what game has like a slight turn to it. Or maybe I'm thinking like a flight stick for like
Punch Out. Doesn't Punch Out have one where you can press down, or Super Punch Out?
Punch Out has one that you pull up.
Pull up. Yeah.
Pull up. Yeah. So all Nintendo joysticks,
that's like
every Nintendo joystick has that like extra bit of up, and they just Isaiah Seiko just added like a little extra micro switch on the bottom, so when you pull up, it releases this.
It's like a normally closed instead of normally open.
Yeah, and there's a little top hat on the bottom of the joystick. It's kind of cool. Like if you have a Nintendo joystick within, if you're watching right now and you have a joystick within reach, just go and pull it up. Doesn't matter if it's a Donkey Kong versus anything, it'll pull up.
Yeah, get a t-shirt that says "Pull my joystick." Pond Pokemon channel member says all my kids play Tetris and ask how you can insta drop. When I tell them we just pull down, the looks like get incredible. But I mean, that's how it worked on Game Boy and NES, right? You push down. Well, I guess it's not an insta. You have to hold down to make it go fast.
Yeah.
There isn't a instant. And I know some people, like there's modern versions of Tetris that almost have a shadow at the bottom to show you exactly where you are lined up to prevent
that. That's cheater Tetris. Like you got to go old school Tetris in order to like play it properly. Like showing where the part lines up, I think is like a load of crap. Like if you're gonna play Tetris, you gotta have that line of sight. It's not worth it otherwise.
It's almost like bowling with the bumpers down.
Exactly.
All right, let's see. We are flying through. So yeah, that's it for me in terms of pickups and updates. Moving on to our second update, which is projects we currently work.
Whoa. Liam went first. I forced you to go second.
Oh, I thought you already I asked you how things were going and you brushed us off.
No.
Okay, go ahead. You had a bit of a mental health moment.
No, I picked up a game.
No, you didn't.
I picked up
an arcade game.
I picked up a game.
Wow, that's super rare.
That doesn't look like ice cold beer.
Listen. I picked up a Ms. Pac-Man. And not only did I pick up a Ms. Pac-Man, but Josh and I filmed a Canadian arcade video of the pickup of the Ms. Pac-Man.
You didn't release it.
You're absolutely right, we did.
You didn't release it.
That's because I wanted to have it ready to go for this episode and just be like, hey, it's up live. But I legitimately had more like a little reenactment of how I contacted the seller. And I had to film part of that this morning. And I've been sitting here trying to edit that video to get it ready. Just didn't have enough time because the last week and a half just didn't have enough time to actually, sit and edit. But I can guarantee you without a shadow of a doubt that there is in the next few days or week soon, there is a Canadian arcade episode coming.
Definitely in 2025.
Well, okay, The TV show Josh and I have been working on. We finished filming on like the 14th, 15th, 16th. We've got a couple of days. We got to wrap up all of our kit, and we call Wrap Week. As soon as that's out of the way, I will have more free time than I know what to do with until the next show comes along. And that could be at, I think, like 6-8 weeks. I think I'll have some free time.
But you'll be playing with your Formula 4 simulator and all.
Maybe. But
Yeah.
I am committed to two things here. It's always two things with me. Two things.
Your wife and a mental institution.
Both of those things are above and beyond. The mental institution, been there, done that. The two things I'm committed to are, one, finishing this video. It's like on my list of things to do. I was going to hold up my phone, but I don't know. There's on my list of things to do is finish this video. And two, get this game ready to go on location. Because if any of you have paid any attention to me in the last 2 years, and I don't know why, you'll know that I, with the exception of maybe one game, no, this is my least favorite game of all time. Ms. Pac-Man, anything in the Pac-Man realm is the least favorite game of mine of all time. And I know that's a hot take. Right? I say Pac-Man sucks. We get a bunch of people in the chat going, Pac-Man doesn't suck. You suck. Go back to Canada. But Pac-Man, I would say, is probably one of the worst games of all time. Just because it's popular doesn't make it right. Candle in the Wind was the greatest selling song of all time. Just because it's popular doesn't make it right. Anyway.
Here's Hipster Chance with his hot takes.
Yeah. So this money talks. And putting that game on location, you know, is just makes bank. Josh has got one, and the thing like makes more money than God. Like, I swear. So this thing, amazing condition. Okay, let's go back to the first one. So we picked this up a few days ago.
Except for the coin door.
Except for it's missing the coin door, but not the frame
and the CPU.
Shush. For what we get here, it's
Vessel's
amazing condition. Okay, listen. Peanut Gallery. Enough. This game, pretty damn good
condition.
That monitor, amazing condition
So
as a survivor.
Totally faded.
Okay. Listen. It's not great. But as a base, it actually has a really, really good bit of potential to it. It is missing the back panel.
$1,800.
No, it was 600 Canadian. Which is like
too much.
Too much.
Anyway. So Josh and I went and picked it up. I got the message from my buddy Adam late at night at like, I don't know. I was sitting around at home at like midnight, just watching some TV with the wife. And I got a text in our little group chat from our buddy Adam. Because we have a little group chat, like our close little knit collective here in Calgary. There's about 7 or 8 of us. And we're all looking out for each other, right? Of like, everyone knows kind of what the other people want. And we do that. We just, oh, hey, this pops up in Facebook Marketplace. Someone sees it. Boom. Send it to the group chat. So anyway, get this text from my buddy Adam. Message the guy back like, hey, I'll take it. And I even offered him a few bucks more than what his asking price was. I think it was like $630 Canadian. And the next morning, I just left it, put my phone down. And then the next morning, I got a text message from him saying, yeah, hey, cool. When can you come get it? So not only was I first, but I asked him for a little, like, to give him a little bit more money. Show of faith, because like 600, normally that game goes for like 800 to 1200 Canadian in working condition. Okay, cool. The middle of the coin door is missing. It's a midway coin door. There's millions of those, right? The back panel's missing.
Monitor's next.
No, monitor's great. Did you not see the
PCB.
color? Did you not see the color in that monitor?
That's after you fixed it.
Burn.
Hold on. So yeah, it's a
see it right now. I see the game.
It needs a CPO. It needs a bezel.
Okay.
So you're going to be $1,000 all in.
Stop. Be a hater. I bought a game I said I would never own. So look, you can't see it in the pictures, but the color on it is phenomenally good. In fact, I've already washed the monitor. I'm going to cap it tomorrow. It actually looks really, really good. Okay.
Did you record yourself washing the monitor?
Well, no, because it was just a pickup video. I've already washed the monitor. Like I've got a video. We've got 2 videos on that. Anyway, So yes,
that was my joke.
Oh, okay. There's some patina. Okay, quite a bit of patina.
I love patina's good.
But patina's great, and the wood is in perfect condition almost all the way around, except for a little bit of planking here and there. There's a slight. It's just dirty. It's dusty. Ignore that. Yeah. So the board is in there. It's got the speedy chip. Okay. Can't say no. Monitor was filthy. Now it's clean. So anyway, yes. Yeah, and that's faded. So I have already I've now ordered a new CPO and I've ordered a new marquee for it. I will not be ordering a new bezel because somebody's put tape.
You gonna repair it? You gonna paint the
No. I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna for the first time ever, I'm gonna leave a game in its patina condition, minus a couple of the things of the artwork, just because I want to like have.
You don't want to re-stencil the cabinet?
No. I would love to. But I hate the game so much I'm not going to. All I want to do here, and I'm going to say this officially, I want to maximize profits. That game will go on location at a bar in Calgary, and I will have done the following things to it: a cap kit, spraying a piece of plywood, scrap plywood that I have around the house as a new back panel, and a CPO and a marquee, just to make it a little bit more presentable. Maybe I'll even put a new button in it. I don't really care for the start buttons, but that's it. The joystick's in like great shape. So anyway,
you're going to set it to a quarter per credit?
No, God no. A loony.
50 cents?
A loony. A Canadian dollar. Okay,
Seriously?
There's reasoning behind this because with the games that we have on location have primarily pinball machines there. And people don't carry quarters around here. They're not worth anything, right? So we set our games to a loony a play. And because we found we used to have it 2 plays for $1, but people were leaving. People didn't realize that was a thing. So they were leaving their second play and walking away, and then someone else would come up. So the moment we switched all of our games to a loony a play, come on, it's inflation. The moment we set our games to a loony a play, it was like next level for us. Our pricing went through the roof. Now, what $1 is like 60 cents American? Like all jokes aside, it's like 67 cents American. Okay.
You're getting a lot of suggestions in the live chat.
I'm ignoring the live chat for the next 5 minutes.
Sean reminds you that you need a coin door.
Yeah, I've got one. I already have one. Done.
Matt is saying that if you're going to put it on location unattended, you should probably do a DC mod and throw a switcher in there.
We have unattended. The 2 locations that Josh and I have games are bars owned by either a very good friend of us or the company that has some investment. Their games are going to be safe. Yeah.
You say so? All right. So are there really no single dollar bills in Canada?
No.
5 is the smallest bill.
We haven't had a dollar bill,
like Europe,
a $2 bill,
system,
or a penny in years. Do you know why? Because Canada's a forward-thinking country. We use the metric system.
Never walked on the moon.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
You built some robot arms, though.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
If walking on the moon is the metric we have to get to be a
so do you have
country, wait for China.
A 50-50 split with the location owner?
Yes.
So how long?
Well, we have a percentage split.
Yeah. How long is it going to take you to recoup your? And then so in your province or city, is there like a tax or some sort of license that you have to get for the game?
No, this is the Wild West, man. Nobody cares.
All under the table.
For the purposes of the Canadian government, I pay taxes on my income.
So how long is it going to take you to recap your initial investment here?
Probably a couple of months. That's about it. I would say maybe 2-3 months.
Could you set up some kind of Google sheet that you make at least publicly viewable, where you can log your loony coin takes, and we can see how long it takes you to recap your investment? I think
we're good.
No,
we're good.
No, okay, all right. it's going to take. You're never going to get your money back. So,
Actually, fun fact. I've already within the first year of owning games at the bar that we have on location, I paid off anything that I had there. So it's all just like passive income now at this point. And again, that's part of the
mostly
thing.
pins, though, right?
Well, the pins aren't mine.
They're not. I thought you operated pins there.
No. The pinball machines that we have on that location are not mine. It's just the arcade games that Josh and I have that are there. So our almost a dozen games that are there, which again, small fry, but again, people are there putting loonies and toonies into the pinball machines. So why make change for a third denomination of currency? They're going to use those loonies. They're going to come over and they're going to throw it in there. The only thing that's like slightly confusing to the customers is like whenever they do free play on the pinball, we don't turn the games to free play on the arcades because some of them don't have free play, any number of other reasons. But anyway, so no, it's been quite good.
Fast Bucks in the live chat wants to know what the bar's called. So
Pin Bar in Calgary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You have mentioned that before.
Yeah, Pin Bar in Calgary and National on 10th Ave. So
how thick is a loonie? Will it fit through the coin slot without the coin slot being widened?
Yeah. I mean, we have special coin slots for loonies and toonies, just like you'd have for euros in Europe and that kind of stuff. Quarters. There's all a bunch of different sizes, and we have different coin mechs. We use Imanex coin mechs for all of our games because like they're just bulletproof. None of those old coin controls crap that are worn out.
So those are another $50 for coin mechs.
Yeah, I already have a bunch. It's all paid for. Literally the only thing, and I've already talked to Darren at Phoenix Arcade this morning. I sent him an email for the artwork, and that's it. Everything else is just stuff that I have sitting in my inventory at home.
He's no longer shipping to Canada, so you're going to have to get that.
I already figured that out as well. I am going to send him a prepaid UPS label. He was gracious enough to just give me the weight and dimensions, and I'm paying him a couple of bucks for the packing materials and whatnot, and then that's it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
We got a bunch more people that jumped in. Off-World Arcade, Brandon's here. I was watching his live stream last night on Twitch and YouTube. CW Graham is here. Bunch of other folks. So yeah. Any other? And when can we expect this pickup video on the Canadian Arcade?
Like I said, I wanted to have it ready to go so we could just put it up and then I could click a button like we did that last time. Remember, what video was that where we posted a video? I can't remember. We did a video and I announced it on the channel or on the podcast. I wanted to have it ready for tonight, but work got in the way over the last couple of days. So, but I literally was editing all morning, and my wife was helping me film some stuff because she's getting into the YouTube game. So we wanted to give her some experience filming stuff. So yeah,
very nice, very nice. And we got Josh from Operation Restore here. I haven't seen Josh O.D. Brown though, so
he's at home sleeping probably.
Yeah, working on the Mizpack. Yeah. Well, cool. All right. So projects we're currently working on. I'll jump into this myself. So if you saw my video from last week, the main project I'm working on right now is the Sidam Bosconian. So this is an Italian version of Bosconian. Bosconian developed by Namco in Japan, licensed to Bally Midway for distribution in North America. That's the cabinet that most people are familiar with. If you're familiar at all with Bosconian, I know Zoner has one at his house. I played it there. But Sidam was a company in Italy, and I think they got their start with like bootleg games. I think the most popular game they had was Magic Worm, which is like a clone of Centipede. But then they also got into licensing, legit games, and so they had the license from Namco for Bosconian in the European market, and somehow this Italian Sidam Bosconian cabinet wound up in the U.S. and I got it. I think in July it had been converted to Akari Warriors 3. And we're very, very close. So it needed a new power supply. The harness was actually great. The Akari 3 PCB and the LS30 rotary joysticks worked perfectly, no problem. It had a Hantrex monitor that was missing the chassis, so I got that tube out of there, and I stuck a 4900 that I stuck in there. And we're almost done. The things that I have left to do, I have a marquee I need to put in there. I got an original Sidam Bosconian marquee, which looks almost exactly like the Bally Midway marquee, except it's a Sidam instead of Bally Midway. It's got a white border around it, and it's smaller because the side-am marquee is like very short. I got that from Sardinia, so that took some time to track that down from Italy. And I'm putting a bit kit in there. I have the bit kit. I haven't programmed it yet. The biggest issue that I'm having is actually with joysticks. So the side-am control panel is bizarre. It's a metal control panel. It's got an ashtray. What's it called? Not bolted. What's the thing
Rivets?
Rivets. Yeah, it's got it's got an ashtray riveted right in the middle, and I think that somebody sold these control panels aftermarket, right? I've seen a bunch of other side-am cabinets that have this exact same control panel with the exact same layout. All side-am control panels have an ashtray, but this one is set up for a joystick and 3 action buttons, or 2 joysticks and 3 action buttons per player, which no official side-am games use. Obviously, Bosconian is a 1 player at a time game, so there's just a single joystick and a action button on either side. But this thing is not hacked up. It's not cut up. It is really, really nice. And I've seen other, like I said, pictures of multiple other cabinets, including multiple ones in the same photo with the exact same setup. So I'm guessing somebody manufactured these at some scale to get them out. But the issue that I'm having is my plan was, to set this up as a horizontal bit kit and to have, there aren't really a ton of horizontal 2-player simultaneous games that the bit kit supports. The only one I think is Timber, but Timber actually requires 2 joysticks per player, although I think you can set it up so that the buttons act as the second joystick kind of. But so what I was going to do is have 1 8-way joystick for Bosconian and 1 4-way joystick for 2-way and 4-way games, and then you don't have to worry about, and wire them sort of in parallel, right? So that they're both a player 1 joystick. And that way you don't have to worry about, trying to play a 4-way game with an 8-way joystick, which gets funky. And I got an original Bosconian or Bally Midway Bosconian joystick, and the darn thing doesn't fit in the control panel. The control panel isn't big enough because the Bosconian joystick, kind of like the, Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man joystick, is a little it's a big chungus, right? Yeah. And it doesn't fit. And then I've been on this other sort of tear, right, where I'm like, okay, well, let me dig through. I have dozens of spare joysticks, and I really didn't see a pair that I really love. They're mostly Wickos. And I saw on Paradise that they had a relatively inexpensive set that you could open up the control panel and turn this, basically spin the restrictor, and you can switch it from 4-way to 8-way. And I bought those, but those were delayed in getting shipped to me for some reason. So I think Paradise was closed for a little bit. And then Ty in the channel member Discord recommended these other joysticks that Paradise has, where you basically you don't have to open up the control panel to turn them from 4-way to 8-way. You kind of pull up, twist, and push back down, and it kind of moves the restrictor. And I got those today, and I opened them up, and the base plate doesn't fit a standard joystick pattern.
There's an adapter for that, I believe.
I know, but I didn't buy that.
Yeah, right? Well, that's on you.
And I'm looking at those adapter plates now, and they don't have the dimensions listed, so I'm gonna have to do some math. And I don't know. I've been talking to Nostalgia, who works there, and he works at Starcade with Brian. I might even just fabricate some of my own, just get some sheet metal and drill holes,
so easy,
cut it to fit, right? But yeah, that's another 2 hours of my life that I gotta do. But that's kind of where I am with the Bosconian. The other stuff, and I did a video already of that. We'll do another video soon. The other stuff that's been occupying me is doing more flyback testing for Peter from arcadepartsrepair.com. So as everyone's always heard, that's one of my favorite places to go to get arcade parts. Peter's an awesome guy, helps me out all the time. I've talked to him a bunch. And he's constantly working on reproducing flybacks. There's fewer and fewer places to work with overseas that'll do it. And he even he's constantly working on new ones that haven't been reproduced or haven't been reproduced in a long time, and even testing ones that have been before. But anyway, so he needed a bunch of test data from a working OEM Matsushita flyback, which there's fewer and fewer of. And I had to pull my kangaroo out, rip that out, do all that. And there was even some issues. We had some questions about the flyback because the data we were getting wasn't matching the specs. So I pulled a flyback off another, parts Matsushita that I had. It was having the same thing. So if anyone's out there and, you've got a working Matsushita, and that could be in a pole position. That could be some millipedes had them. Atari cabinets. If you've got a working Matsushita and you've got 10 minutes to spare, I need you to pull 1 voltage off of the neck board. Very, very easy to get. So let me know if you're willing to help me and Peter out with that. But that I did the 24 hours of testing. Basically, I run it on the TPG for 24 hours, and at 148 in the 24-hour marks, I pull a bunch of voltages and also a bunch of temperatures. I've got a thermal camera where I measure the temperature of the flyback. People texting me, what's going on?
The ADD is real, folks.
Oh man. Anyway, so I get all that stuff, and Peter sent me a bunch of sample reproduction flybacks for new ones, including, I know a lot of people have been waiting for this, the Geo 7 FBO flyback, which is the 13-inch version of the Geo 7. So that I pulled my FBO out of my Dig Dug that had been converted to Do Run Run. So that's out working in the garage. That started the 24-hour cycle at 6 p.m. So by 6 p.m. tomorrow, hopefully it'll all be good. You threw yours in the dumpster, Jerry? Oh, man. What's going on? Okay. So, yeah, so I've been testing a bunch of flybacks, and I got a bunch more. I got the latest, a sample from the latest batch of 4,900 flybacks and 20 EZ flybacks. So I'll be cranking through that. I really need to mod my TPG to run off of, mains power instead of just burning through 9 volts. But what are you gonna do?
There was another flyback. I was working on a game a few months ago, and I found that there was another. I want to say a Wells Gardner cabinet or monitor. Is it the 7? It's the 7000 that has that second little coil, right?
The K7000.
Yeah, there's 2 versions of it. There's one with the Zenith tube that requires the secondary coil.
Flyback.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the K7000A.
Yeah, we don't have flybacks for those, do we?
No.
Why is that? Is it something that he can do?
Well, so here's my understanding, right? So that was Wells Gardner couldn't keep up with demand, right? Mm-hmm. So this was kind of the second resurgence of the arcades, right? Late 80s, early 90s, right? And they couldn't keep up with demand. So they licensed some manufacturing to Zenith. And rather than just doing it straight like the exact same way, they used or repurposed a bunch of proprietary Zenith parts, including the Zenith flyback, which has 2 anode wires.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so I don't think anyone has ever reproduced the K7000A flyback. Now, but what you can do is if you have a dead one, you can swap in a K7000 chassis. Yeah. And it'll work with the tube and yoke.
That's what I've had to do. So our guy out in BC, Troy, I've had to pull the Zenith chassis off and replace it with the regular K7000. So you'd think that that would be a part that maybe would get done, but
well, and there are other flybacks that Peter needs people to test, and I don't have every monitor known to man. So if anybody out there in particular has, and this monitor goes by a bunch of different names. It's the Tovis, some Vision Pros, some Cortex, the MTG 1901CN. If you think you got a monitor like that, reach out to me. I'll put you in touch with Peter, and he'll probably have you test, if you can, your OEM flyback, and he'll send you a repro to test it, make sure all the voltages and whatever are the same, because he's very particular about making sure stuff is working before he puts it out on the shelf.
Well, if he ever wants to do a really weird flyback, I would love a Amplifone raster replacement.
I would love the 13-inch. What is it? It was a Sega Gremlin cabinet. I had a Space Firebird cabinet, and the flyback in that, like, impossible. The focus rifted on it.
I'm using a K7000 flyback on Firefox in the Amplifone raster chassis. It's not perfect, but it sort of works.
Is it just a pinout difference? Do you have to have a little?
There's some other board hacks. I've got it sitting on a daughter board on standoffs from the main PCB.
Nice.
All right, I probably missed a whole bunch of live chats here, but yeah. So that FBO is looking pretty good. So keep an eye out for that soon. I've tested other flybacks with Peter in the past, like the Nintendo Sharp monitor, that sort of thing. But Liam, give us an update on the Inferno. What's left to do with that project?
It's in the game room, as I said. It's playing just fine. I've been playing it a ton. Still need joysticks. I will eventually get them. They're very expensive. The new CPO. So I had one round of CPO done, and it was not a perfect match. So I sent it back to Galloping Ghost with a ton of feedback. And the new one, which after I did the CAD for it and reproduced the entire control panel, sent that to them. Said, this is what it is. Here, fit that. And so they've sent me a new CPO that should arrive tomorrow. So I'm very excited to take a look at that. If it does fit, which it should, I'm going to try to install that. And then for the time being, it'll be as much as I can do on that cabinet, because I've already reproduced the plate. It's sitting on my desk back there, and I have all the parts except the joysticks. So I'm going to put it back together, and it's just going to sit in the lineup until I can buy some joysticks for it.
Nice.
Mention it in every episode of the podcast so that someone out there eventually will come through.
So there is the thing. So just like Chance wanting to have the not 3D printed tapper handles.
Yeah. It's important.
Well, the Inferno sticks that I'm looking for, they do have the same cast plastic pieces as Blaster. So if anyone has a Blaster stick handle out there somewhere, I only actually need one.
You already have one.
I have a line on one, yes.
Okay.
So if there's a extra Blaster, just plastic shell out there, I would love that.
Yeah, because 3D printed stuff is garbage. 3D printing is for prototyping, not for finished products. Hot take.
So
sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
And other than that, I'm not really working on any other projects at the moment. Although I do have stuff coming up, but that's for more next episode, I think.
All right. I'm responding to stuff all over the place. Chance, what about that El Dorado pin? Is that ever going to get finished?
Yeah. So we have reached a milestone. Actually, you know what? Let's do this, because why not? So we've reached a milestone after 6 years of working on this game. The new playfield is finished. All new parts on the playfield. I've got new decals for the apron. The apron I wouldn't count as part of the playfield, but I'm going to be stripping that completely bare, repainting it white, throwing on these new. Now I made these stickers myself. I know the original one's stenciled, but
they're not decals. You call them stickers.
They're stickers. They're decals. I cut them on a Cricut plotter here at home. I scanned the whole thing, made the scans available for people, so somebody else can save their Gottlieb pin from the 70s. And we're gonna leave it at that. But anything else? All the metal bits have been completely polished by our buddy Adam. All new plastics, all new sanded and repainted the rails. That thing is now ready to go. And if you've been following us on the Canadian Arcade, we have been doing a lot of YouTube shorts around this. So yeah, we 100%. It's ready to go. I plugged it in And electronically, it's working except for one little thing that I have to fix, and that's the 10-point score, and that's something in the back of the game. Now, I think that was a problem. I don't remember that actually being a problem before, but I also didn't diagnose the problem or diagnose the game too much or give it triage before I tore the playfield out. So the idea is like it probably was broken when I first had it running. I can't remember. So a buddy of ours, Jeff, who knows his way around EMs, is going to come by and help me out with that as soon as I have some free time. But yeah, Eldorado pretty much ready to go. And then the cabinet restoration, that's future chance problems.
What is the ROI on restoring EMs?
A lot of red ink. I got an offer.
Say more.
Well, okay, so I got an offer. When early mid-December or whenever it was that I picked up that Formula 4 racing cockpit, that big chunk of carbon fiber, I thought, you know what, like I'm going to make some space down in the basement because like I don't need 3 pins, I just need 2. And I wasn't feeling it anymore, the Eldorado. And so I was like, you know what, I'll just make a little extra space. I'll put the sim there and I'll do the thing. So I started kind of putting it out to some friends of mine. Hey, I might be selling this Eldorado project. Is anybody interested? And the resounding response was, yeah, but you got to finish the playfield first. Because I was so deep into the playfield swap that it was just like, I'm just going to give you parts. But I don't think anybody wanted to do that work. But now that the playfield's done, people are going to be like, oh, well, I'll buy it off of you. And I think the offer I got, the biggest offer I got was $2,500 Canadian. Now, I've put maybe $1,000 into the playfield itself, which I bought off of, I can't remember what his name is at Stern. One of the actual like top guys at Stern we had a connection with, and I talked with him, and he was able to sell that to me after a long process trying to get a new playfield. And I ended up going to Marco Specialties and because we're one of their vendors, I bought a bunch of parts off of them as well. And probably sunk around $2,000 into the pin. But honestly, like that pin has family ties to me, so I probably shouldn't get rid of it. I probably should finish it, and it's a really good game. Eldorado is a very good game when it comes to EMs. So, yeah, I'm probably going to keep it. I don't think I'm going to get rid of it. So,
are you sentimentally attached to it?
Well, no. I mean, long story short. So when I was a kid, my family lived up in a tiny little town, northern Alberta, called Donalda, and
is that north of Edmonton?
No, south of Edmonton, but it's out in the boons. And the guy who sold it to us, here's part of that whole like emotional damage thing. The guy who sold it or gave me the game. Long story short, back in the day when my mother, who was one of 6 girls, when they were kids, when they were little, the family, my grandparents lived up there, and the guy
in
who
a little
owned,
house on the prairie,
pretty much. The guy who owned John's Vending at the time, used to babysit
John's Jukes.
Nope, not John's Jukes. Other John. There's so many Johns in the industry. And so when he first started in the industry as an operator back in the 70s, he actually bought this Eldorado brand new. It was his first game he bought brand new. And so when he was retiring, this is after we had made a family connection after a raid, just by happenstance. He knew who I was. And so he just calls me up out of the blue and he says, hey, I've got this Eldorado for you. You can sell it, you can clean it up, you can restore it, whatever you want to do, it's yours. Just come get it. And then we were trying to actually get it fully restored before he passed away. But sadly, a couple of years after that, he passed away, and that was like 4 or 5 years ago. So, yeah. So, I mean, like, I want to keep it because it's a good game. It's a pinball machine. For all these reasons, I want to keep it. But I think, like, I kind of also want the space, but I'll probably keep it. So,
and I think you've told us that story before about
I have, yeah,
him tracking you down, like, oh, aren't you? I knew a little kid named Chance.
Yeah. We went up there for a raid. Some friends of ours in town who were in the collective as well. They're like, hey, we're going to this place up in Donalda. We're gonna like pull all these parts out of there. This is where I pulled all my sheriff parts out of, my sheriff upright parts. So we got parts for like 3 separate undocumented sheriff uprights, which is pretty damn cool. And because everyone thinks there's only like 4 or 5 of those in existence, but there was way more than that. And so we went up there and started pulling apart his warehouse and pulling all this stuff out. And I got to talking with the guy, and like he was in his 90s. And he basically said, "Oh yeah, I know a kid named Chance." And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "And he has a brother named Zane." I'm like, "That's a little close to home." And then we just started chatting and
not a common combination.
No, they're cowboy names. They Chance Kelly Johnson, Zane Clinton Lee Johnson. We're ranching family. So you wouldn't know it by maybe the Benelli hat, but you wouldn't know it by the way I present myself. But I grew up on the back of riding a horse in the mountains.
This close to joining the Heart Foundation.
Yeah, right. Wow. Anyway, so the long story short, El Dorado, we're getting there. Honestly, it looks well lived on the outside, but you walk up to that thing, and it's gonna look brand new under the glass, which is gonna be gorgeous. So
beautiful. So cool. Why don't we stick with Chance? Go right into upcoming plans. What are you looking for? What are you doing next? What's coming down the pipe?
I am still looking for a couple of parts. Double Dragon PlayChoice 10 cartridge. I haven't found a really good one on eBay.
I just bought another PC10 cart, but it wasn't Double Dragon.
Do you not? Oh, what'd you get?
I got a great deal on a Super C.
So why don't you just put that into your and give me your Double Dragon?
Because I'm trying to eventually get a complete set of PC10 games. I'm never gonna get like Ninja Gaiden 3 or whatever, but
so yeah, Double Dragon, we're looking for that. And then that's about it, really, right now. I always mention that I'm going to be looking for nibbler parts. I'll get there one day. I just have other projects, and I'm doing this whole thing where it's like 2 projects at a time, and that's it. So, then I ended up getting a stupid Ms. Pac-Man.
Well, there you go. Did you buy the nibbler PCB that was on eBay a couple weeks ago?
No. I'm putting a bit kit in it. That bit kit is just so good. Like, yeah, we got a Canadian Arcade video on the bit kit coming. It forever it's been coming, but we're going to be doing a review of that board.
You're the king of how many do you have in a can right now that you just?
I still haven't bought a bit kit. One day I'll get there.
Yes. You're gonna have to release like a DVD of the lost episodes.
We have, but that's the thing. We're very picky about what we actually upload, not just for time, but
until there's another hailstorm.
Well, right. I think it's come to the point now where our videos, for the most part, take so much to produce. Like, go back and look at that Tempest restoration video or assembly video. Okay, so we probably did 2 videos on the Tempest, the pickup video, which is our standard video, but then we did the same thing that we did when we rebuilt the track and field. We put a little bit more production value into it. And that Tempest video, if you guys haven't seen it, I'm very proud of, because we filmed it on a BGH1, like an actual cinema camera.
Should have won an award for a silent film.
It wasn't that bad, right? It was a little short, 5-6 minutes long. You don't hear me talking at all in it, so you're not going to blow your speakers. And
it's free. You don't even have to donate for that.
No, exactly.
Speaking of donations, we have a White Fox channel member who just gifted 5 Overtime Arcade channel memberships. There you go. And those have gone to Scott Brockway, Minnesota Fats, Hayes Arcade, the Oriole 08, and JL. Welcome to Overtime Arcade channel membership. With your 1 month free channel membership gifted by White Fox, you get early access to all the videos. You get access to our monthly members only live stream and access to our private members only Discord. I will post a link after the live stream ends. It'll be a members only message on the community tab with a link to join us on the Discord at White Fox. Thank you. Appreciate that. And hope you guys all enjoy your 1 month free trial of channel membership. Sorry. I interrupted you, Chance.
No, don't make it a free trial. Keep come hanging out with us in the Discord.
We do get relatively good conversions. So some folks do like it and decide to stick around. We got over 100, channel members, which is great. I know you guys are channel members. Everyone that's in the live chat with a little like star icon that looks like a sheriff's badge or so next to their name, those are all channel members. So a lot of these folks here are all channel members, so they know what the good stuff is all about.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Liam, What's next? You're looking for a lot of parts, I know, and a lot of these are long shots.
A lot of hard parts to find. I need either one blaster style joystick, shell, or pair of Inferno sticks, which is definitely a long shot. I'm looking for an iRobot control panel, another impossible to find part, and also an iRobot power supply to top it off on the impossible to find components.
Because that's a weird one too, right? It's not just a normal AR or whatever.
No, it's the Atari switching power supply. It was used only in iRobot, Firefox. All Firefox cockpits use this power supply, and a very small amount of Atari System 1 games apparently use this, but I don't think any of those survived.
Do you have a picture of this? Can you send me a picture of this?
Yeah, I'll send you a photo.
Okay.
It kind of looks like the Atari Amplifone supply. It's got a huge heatsink off to one side. It's a very strange looking board. They packed a DGOS circuit onto it and a whole bunch of other crap.
Huh.
But I need one for iRobot because the PCB definitely will work the best with it versus trying to hack something together. So looking for one of those eventually. I do have some projects coming in that I need to work on, and I'm excited to take those on. It's been a long time in the works, like over a year in the works. So excited to do that. We'll talk about that hopefully next podcast.
Thank you, Sean.
And I think that's about it for upcoming projects. Just trying to get Inferno done.
You know, we hit it big when we have a spammer in the live chat.
Oh, so good.
Sean came in and knocked him right out. And I was like, I don't even do it enough. Like, I was like, okay, well, where do I go and how do I ban them? But Sean came in with a wrecking ball. And
I'm disappointed about the censorship, Sean. You should have let me have fun with them for a few minutes before you did that.
You're lucky you didn't get put in time out there, Chance.
I legitimately, I feed off those tears. Like I can eat trolls for breakfast. Like bring it to me.
You get a lot of that in your channel video comments.
Yeah, we actually do. We get a fair number of people trolling us, especially on the Hailstorm videos. But anyway, Liam, we're talking about you and what you need. Going back on track.
Yeah, I just sent you a photo of the power supply.
Ooh, where? Oh, in the thing. Oh, yeah.
I'd be surprised if you've seen one of those.
Want to put it on screen?
I'm gonna put that up on. Oh wow, that's weird looking.
Sure is.
Hold on, I need to press this button.
Look,
yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Smokes on purpose.
Wow.
So this is their first attempt at a switcher. It did not go well, according to the notes from Jed Margolin. It apparently had a tendency in the lab to frequently blow up, and once they deployed it in the field, it also had a tendency to frequently blow up.
So why do you want this fire hazard in your house?
Well, if you properly maintain it, it's not going to blow up.
Okay.
Or at least the chance of it blowing up is reduced. The flaw in the power supply had to do with a voltage doubler circuit, which can be disabled.
Well, Liam, you are, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the smartest human beings that I know. So I'm gonna say that if anyone can, not burn their house down with this, it's on you.
Well, and it used. I hate it when there's PCB mounted Molex connectors. I personally hate those. I feel like that's like one of the weaker points on the AR2, right? Although you don't, but it also has like headers on it for
so the headers are the low voltage section, and I actually have a stopgap for this. If I can't find it and I find the control panel first, I have actually designed a form and fit replacement PCB for this. It should handle all the correct output voltages and the audio amplification reset circuit. Everything that this thing does, up to and including the DGOS, the PCB I designed should be able to do it.
Yeah, because at what point do you just start making your own board?
Which is why I've made my own thing, but until I find the control panel for an iRobot, I don't see a point in actually using the thing that I made, because might as well hold out for this. I can't play it without the control panel anyway, so I'm just gonna wait to see if I can find an original power supply somewhere.
That's chunky. That just looking at that thing, like I feel like I'd slice my hand open on that heatsink.
Well, and it doesn't just do power. It's got these other responsibilities as well.
So it does power. It's the reset circuit. It's the degauss circuit. It supplies a DC voltage to the monitor. The monitor is not powered on AC with an isolation. It is from this. It also it does the audio amplification.
I always look back at like these crazy like amalgamated boards and whatnot because like let's be honest, like every single arcade game for the most part, unless you're talking about a series of games from Williams like the MCR 1, 2, 3 or Nintendo, right, pretty much always having a series of boards. I always look at some of these crazy like, hey, let's throw everything that we can onto this PCB except for this one little feature that can be a separate board. Like it
was really weird that they did the reset circuit on this because when they did Firefox, I think this is just Margolin because he hated this supply. He put a reset circuit on the PCB for Firefox. So there are 2 reset circuits in the cabinet, and whether or not you're using this power supply or not, it supplies a pin on the PCB to turn off the internal reset circuit and use this one instead.
Weird.
So who do we know that owns an iRobot, and what are they running for power? Are they running one of these original nonsense things?
I know a few people who have iRobots, and these power supplies are present. I know also that a couple people have a solution that uses dual ARs
Kinder has one?
Or a switcher, just a generic switcher with an adapter. But that can cause problems with the high scores on iRobot.
Because John had one, but it was constantly down. But I don't think he ever did a video that highlighted the power supply in there.
And then
I don't know.
Kinder's got
Jerry
one
says
with a power supply.
Jerry Volupcius says that Kinder has one.
Yeah, it's running the original switcher.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've got the PCB for it sitting in my closet, and I've played it on that PCB, and the PCB worked great last time it was tested, but it's just going to sit there in its anti-static bag until I can get all the pieces necessary. The cabinet's in great shape now. I've restored the head box and put it all back together, so it's just needing those parts to be functional.
So just control panel and power supply.
Control panel and power supply. I've refurbished the harness. I've got I've got a disco monitor that works. Just need those 2 parts.
Oh, John still. Anthony Presley in the chat says, "Does John's arcade still have his arcades? Did he sell them?" I doubt John has sold. I think he's got them all on location though.
I heard for the most part they haven't been touched. They've just been sitting there
in his basement.
But you heard he sold some, Liam?
I mean the Quantum that he had turned up at auction.
Really?
Wow.
How the mighty have fallen. Interesting. The control panel on iRobot, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the
it's a 3-piece control panel. It has a metal sublayer, a bracket that supports the joystick, and a molded plastic overlayer which mounts the 2 fire buttons and the start buttons.
Wasn't someone redoing the molded plastic?
Multiple people have been working this project sequentially, it seems, and each one has given up.
Really? Why? Because what's his name who's making all those boards for Arcade Shop? The name
Arcade Jason.
Jason, thank you. Jason, I think, was working on one, wasn't he?
Yeah, and has not had an update in about a year, I think.
Okay, so maybe we all just spam Jason right now and say, "Hey, man, when are you coming out with this?"
I don't know. There was tooling. He made a couple prototypes, but I don't think he hasn't.
He might even sell double digits of those on Arcade Shop.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? The customer base for the people who need this supply, this control panel to be recreated is small, and there are only 70 or so machines total registered on VAPS. Less than that probably need a control panel.
Yeah, but if Jason's gone out and made that tooling to actually make these control panels, you better bet it's sitting in the back of his head nagging him that he has to finish that project.
And there's the other problem is it's only part of the solution. I luckily only need the plastic piece.
Okay.
But if you had say you're converting a Firefox, or you didn't have a control panel wholly, you also need the metal sublayer and the mounting bracket.
Which you have.
you would need someone else to fabricate, because it's not just a simple bend. The joystick mounting bracket is, but the actual sublayer is a weird punched out and slightly convoluted object. Luckily, I have that, but I don't think everyone who and actually, Sean, you joke 3D printing it. I have a 3D model of that control panel, and I got it quoted for 3D printing just to see if I could have something as a stopgap. It was going to be like $700 to print that. Minimum.
Okay. Yeah, but no, why don't you just 3D print it yourself in separate parts, glue it together, use that as a form, and then just vacuum form one yourself?
I've thought about it, but
because like we made a homemade vacuum forming for when we were working with the props department on The Last of Us. We made our own little vacuum forming table, essentially.
I've thought about it, but I just don't want to deal with printing it in multiple parts, and also it's so thin.
Just buy another iRobot cabinet.
Buy another iRobot. Yeah. If I've calculated that, if I pay what I expect to pay for the power supply and the control panel, I'll be just under like what buying an actual iRobot would have cost instead of putting this thing together. The way I look at it, though, doing it this way, at least there's one more in the world versus just giving up on it and letting it stay a Galaga.
Yeah, that was part of my whole thing with the whole tapper. I'm like, it was going to cost me an arm and a leg to find my wife a tapper cabinet, or I could just build one from scratch. You know,
there's one for sale, Vermont right now.
Yeah, for $1,200.
$1,200.
Yeah, it's got original tapper handles too.
Is it blown out or is
looks fine?
All really no wood damage?
No
wood damage.
Seems like a decent survivor.
Yeah. Interesting. Anyway,
what other projects, Liam, are coming through?
There are a few games coming in that are not mine, but I'm going to take a look at. But that'll be a next podcast discussion. But I've still got a Qbert Cubes I need to do in the garage. That'll come eventually. The Aliens just needs to wait for warmer weather to get painted. There's a Wizards of War, which I don't know what I'm going to do with. And then one other project, which is going to be so far long term, I haven't even started collecting parts for it.
What's that?
It's a build out of another Firefox cabinet I've got. It is not going to be a Firefox. It'll be something else, and not an iRobot either.
Star Wars?
No.
What else is there?
Nothing.
Not
that was
Jedi
ever in that cab.
Oh.
16-1. You're gonna put a 16-1 in an LCD?
Nah.
With one of those ball tap light up joysticks that like you get off Amazon that looks like okay.
Wasn't there a prototype in that Paperboy prototype?
Paperboy prototypes in a Return of the Jedi cab.
So good. Choplifter.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Choplifter. Because so I've got some stuff coming up. Obviously, I've always got stuff in the works. I'm going to be doing some more PCB testing, including I got a bunch of gem adapters from PCB Junkie, a Canadian vendor. Forget what his name is, Alex maybe. I like his gem adapters. They're inexpensive. They're well made. I like them. So I've got a bunch of PCBs I need to test, including a Choplifter that I got a Sega System 8 adapter for. I got a Last Mission that a viewer on Clav, who was it actually?
Last Mission.
Last Mission.
Craig
Olaf. Craig Olaf 28. Data East Last Mission. I think it's a vertical shooter. Shoot 'em up.
Really?
Says it's working but no sound. He and it didn't sell, so he's like, "Hey, do you want this?" And I'm like, "Okay," and he sent it to me. So I got some others too. I'm gonna test I got a IREM adapter, so I'm gonna test my Moon Patrol board set, and I have a 10-yard fight board set that I'm gonna test out.
You were looking for a Golden Axe, weren't you?
So I would be interested in a Golden Axe PCB if one became available. I don't really want to pay like eBay prices for it.
Damn, I was going to charge you eBay prices for one.
Well, Penner Station Russell asks how much for the jam adapter. So it depends on the game. Like different games are different prices, but some of the more simpler ones where it's really just a pinout is like $20, right? So and there's other ones that are much more complicated where there's like a sound circuit on them or something that there's caps and whatever. But the most basic ones where it's really just a pinout change are like $20. So really, yeah, and I think it's like $20 Canadian.
Yeah, PCB Junkie is like god tier. Like he makes some of the best stuff on the planet.
He's responsive, right? Like to emails and stuff.
Those Canadian parts suppliers, man.
Yeah, his it's Adrian. I was wrong, not Alex. Adrian. Yeah, good dude. Let's see. We got a lot of love in the live chat for 10-yard fight. Maybe I'll do that as my halftime heat episode this year, because I usually do a video that I release at halftime.
10-yard fight artwork, new old stock artwork.
You do, because I have if you're looking to get rid of that, I might be interested in that.
Let me look it up. You talk amongst your friends. Let me
because I have a 10-yard fight cabinet that's partially converted to kicks, but it is a legit dedicated 10-yard fight cabinet with a Taito raised letter coin door.
Really?
And I got a 10-yard fight PCB, so I'll be turning that back at some point. I might just do test the PCB as my halftime heat video. If you guys remember halftime heat, back in the Attitude Era of WWF, the WWF would do an alternative halftime show during the Super Bowl, because who wants to watch, whatever, Mariah Carey singing at the Super Bowl, right? You want to see The Rock and Mankind smashing each other, right? And so last year I did one, and I'll do another one where I release a video. I'll like hit the button to say release right as halftime starts of the Super Bowl. It'll be like a little 15-20 minute video, so you can watch it during halftime. Jerry Voluptuous says 10-yard fight was his first NES game. I rented that and thought it was terrible. Tecmo Bowl and then Super Tecmo Bowl were my jam on the NES. So yeah, more PCB testing. We'll do a bunch of that. And again, that's why I've got the Jam of January cabinets out there. I do need to, speaking of Ampliphones, I need to fix the Ampliphone Vector in Mark's Atari Star Wars upright that's sitting in my garage. Hopefully I'll get to that soon. I was going to do Fix It February, but my schedule got all screwed up. I still need to, Tempest is down, Asteroids is down. I need to get those working. Carnival has been behaving.
What happened to your Tempest?
So that's been down for like a month or so. It turns on and the start lights are blinking. It's obviously a different problem than the Asteroids is resetting. Like the screen will display for about a second and you'll see the animation starting, like the gameplay starting, but then it resets. For Tempest, it's just nothing on the monitor, and it's just the flashing start buttons. So, and I haven't touched it, I haven't opened it, haven't done anything yet. So hopefully it's a easy fix, voltages or something.
Yeah, that would drive me crazy.
I have some Tecmo new old stock side art, but I don't know if a 10-yard
not 10-yard fight. That's okay. That's all right.
Yeah.
It's probably under the black paint that's covering it. And then I think, and this is a little bit of getting ahead to our main topic, which we probably should have already started. We've been kind of delaying and waiting for Kay to join us, but maybe that's not going to happen.
Texans don't cry anyway. They don't have emotion.
No. Yeah. I want to get the Moon Patrol cocktail working.
Ooh.
So I know people are constantly asking about it, and
It's been a long time coming.
It's probably one of your best games.
I got it like 2 years ago, and I have barely touched it. I don't know what I'm going to do. I had somebody was really, really kind on Facebook and sent me a really high-res scan of the instruction cards that go under the glass that I'll get printed. And I had been back and forth on how much work I want to put into fixing the wood of the cabinet that's all messed up. I got a sample of laminate. That's a pretty good match, but it's a special order and it's not worth, because I only need a single sheet. And so I don't know. So I'll figure that out.
Flat?
What's that?
You have to buy a whole flat of that. Like, is it when you use order for laminate? How does that work?
So I don't really know. I talked to Jeff Kinder's guy, and he's like, he's really good where he'll send, I forget what it is, 5 or 6 sheets. It's like it's the same shipping, like it's by by volume. But he can't include a special order sheet in that. So it's almost like you're paying a full shipping cost for just a single sheet. So it's almost not worth it, because unless you're doing a bulk order. But we'll figure that out. Maybe I'll do an electronics only restoration and just have it rough looking until I really kind of figure out what I want to do, cosmetic wise. And it really doesn't need all that much. It's got minimal artwork. The control panels are like, I'm not even sure what the weight of it's like a plastic sort of like there's artwork on the control panel, but it's not painted, and it's not a decal, right? Like control panel overlay. It's almost like a
what?
Yeah, it's like a plastic.
What's a decal?
It's a decal in America.
Oh.
So it's a little bit sort of like what's the printing method that was the like Donkey Kong control panel overlay.
Like,
but imagine
UV print
something.
UV print's modern,
yeah,
like a silk screen.
No, it's like like the Donkey Kong control panel overlay.
It was silk screen on the back of Lexan or Plexi.
Yeah, is that what it is?
Yeah, it's not a decal.
I don't know. It's something like that, but it's also like adhered to so it's not like bolted on. It's like,
yeah, it's like I
don't know, something. So, but it looks great. It just needed to be cleaned, wiped off. That looks awesome, right? I've got rebuild kits for the joysticks. So I'm hoping when I test the PCB that everything's good to go. Otherwise, I'll tinker with it a little bit, and then I'll just give up and send it to Brad Radell for him to focus on. But with that all out of the way, and our final person, our foursome, not here, we'll get into the topic. Damn it! Yeah, the topic du jour, which actually was a suggestion from the channel member Discord. I posted something the other day, like, "Hey, we got the next episode coming up. Any topics you all want us to talk about?" And everyone immediately went into things like nostalgia and sentimentality and staying motivated, the ups and downs, getting rid of games that you're attached to, what games are the most meaningful to you and why, getting frustrated, and like giving up when some game becomes almost impossible to save. So I don't really have like a structure or a whatever. I know I've got things that I'm interested in talking about. I don't know if you guys have thought about it, but maybe the something to maybe start the conversation is one thing that really, really, really got me hooked on this hobby. Early on, I've mentioned this before, and I'm sure a lot of people have had a similar experience. Is the first 2 games that I got. The first one was my Centipede. I got that from DJ DNS, who is a well-known collector and reseller, good dude. But he moved.
So this is all his fault.
No. Like so he used to live really close to me. He used to live like an hour away, but now he moved
not
to
really
Atlanta.
Close. That's an hour away.
In America, that's really close.
Oh,
right?
I guess, yeah.
Like I later got my Tempest from him, but I like stopped at his house on my way home from work to pick stuff up.
I thought you were going to say across the street. He lived really close.
No,
yeah, I could throw a rock.
I would say like Liam lives relatively close to me, right? Like hour and a half, 2 hours of traffic. But I got the Centipede from him, and that was working, but it needed some TLC, but really was a really nice, gentle introduction. Like very, very, very nice that he gave me a good deal. It was all great. The second game I got, which is really what clinched it for me, is my Donkey Kong Jr. Cocktail. It's currently running DK3 board. But I got that from Coin Op Warehouse, another extremely well-known, this is specifically a reseller. They would buy out old operators and like literally would have a warehouse full of games. I'd even taken my kids there. Like, you could just go when they were open. They would have, they'd be open on the weekends and just walk around, right?
They're gone now, right?
Mostly,
yeah.
Right. So Lloyd has been around forever. Lloyd, I think, really got his start with jukeboxes and stuff, and he's really focused on vinyl these days. Like, he's got a vinyl shop. He still does it a little bit, but even like he is really embedded in the lore of this hobby. Like, if you ever read the book that Peter Hirschberg wrote about Luna City, I know Liam's heard of Luna City. You've heard of Luna City, right, Chance?
No.
So
I've
Luna
read the
City
book.
was a little bit before my time, a little bit before Liam's time, but it was a mega home collection in Virginia, right?
Oh, okay.
And so this guy Peter, he worked for AOL, kind of in the early days of AOL. So that business was going really well and had some disposable income, and he built like one of the first mega private collections, like starting in the 90s of games. He eventually built a second house on his property, like for the games. Like, it wasn't set up as a house to like live in, but it was like a building set up as 2 stories and all kinds of stuff. And one of the ways that he got these games is, he would have a night job working at Coin Op Warehouse. And so he was able to get like first dibs on stuff and would, like, I don't know, get paid and store credit sometimes or whatever.
Wow.
So he's and then Luna City had a whole, like, it's gone, and it's really kind of a sad story what happened to it. And I know it inspired a bunch of other folks who are now mega collectors with hundreds of games and multiple buildings that they've built on their property to house these games. But so Lloyd's been around for forever, and so I take my kids and walked around and like picked up stuff. Lloyd's son Ben is now Coin Op Amusements. He's much bigger, but he's sort of like, I guess, mostly moved to Cleveland now. And Lloyd's daughter, whose name is, I forget, Amanda, yeah. She runs Jaybird auctions, so she does a lot of online auctions. I bought some games and parts and stuff from them. So it's like it's like they're all in the business, but they have 3 different businesses, and they don't really compete with each other, but kind of. But anyway, so I got my Donkey Kong Jr. Cocktail from Coin Op Warehouse. Went there, walked it around, and it's kind of crazy because people would buy the games and like they would take a year or 2 to come pick them up, right? And so you had all these incredible games, but they had like sold tags on them. And I found this, I was looking for a Nintendo game. All of the uprights and stuff were sold, but I found this and it was in reasonably good shape, like cosmetically. And I was very not confident in my ability to do cosmetic repairs. It was missing a monitor. The power cord was cut. It did have a PCB. But anyway, long story short, I was able to get a red tent monitor and stick it in there. That's the first time I ever shocked myself. And really the worst time I ever shocked myself was I was working on the monitor. I had it working, but I was like testing things. And I like just brushed the back of my wrist against the neck board while it was running. And that was not fun.
Yeah, that highway sucks. I've been down that road.
But the first time that I had the whole thing put back together and I had my fingers crossed and I turned it on and it sprang to life and it was working. Oh. That sort of rush of endorphins from like, it's like, I did it, like that is that thing, that natural high that I just chase in all of my projects. Right. And every time you see me on videos going, all right, well, let's try it. 3, 2, 1, hit the button. I still have a little piece of that rush from that. Unless you turn it on and like there's no sound, there's no nothing. You're like,
and there's fire.
I forgot interlock switch, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. But that was something that just will always sort of stay with me. I don't know. Do you guys have something like that?
Well, I mean,
go ahead.
Yeah. Kay, Liam, go ahead. Kay's not going to be here, so
it took quite a while before we got our first pickup to actually work. We picked up Tempest as our first game together, and it was 9 months and many games later before we actually got that thing running.
Mm.
But it did kickstart the like hopefulness and investigation, because during that whole 9 months, I was trying to figure out what the hell is wrong with this machine. And there was a lot. Everything that could have been wrong with that Tempest, except for the monitor being necked, was wrong. Every part had something wrong with it. The monitor, the power supply, the PCB, even the harness was bad. So
how's the harness bad on a Tempest?
it had shorted out to the coin door. And
Oh,
wires were caught underneath the metal in the coin door. I couldn't detect it. So when we finally got the PCB running, it was making this loud sound, and it was just because it was shorted in the coin door and could not figure out why. So yeah, everything that could have been wrong with that was wrong. But it was a really great learning experience, and we got with it a couple of Space Invaders parts, and we used that to build a Space Invaders that was just given to us. So that, like Charlie was saying, was super exciting when we finally saw little Space Invaders on the screen after we had built that, basically sitting on the floor. So that was really cool as well.
Crazy. Have I ever talked about my my Joust cocktail?
Yes.
Have I?
Yeah.
Do we Charlie's
laughing. I don't remember.
You don't remember? Okay. So
Did you get it from John?
No. So my wife, Vanessa, when we first met, I was probably 2-3 years into the hobby, and some of my friends were like gung-ho, like Cody. You've seen him on some early episodes of the Canadian Arcade. Cody was really gung-ho at getting into the hobby as well. And so we had this thing going where if something would show up on Facebook Marketplace or Kijiji, like our Craigslist up here in Canada.
What's that?
Kijiji's like Craigslist.
Is that where you get decals from?
Yeah, decals. Anyway, so Vanessa and I had just been dating for about 6 months, and we're kind of at that phase where we're just always hanging out together. Like we had our own separate places, but like we're always just hanging out. We just no plans. Just it's like she just comes over, we hang out, we watch a movie, we go out somewhere, we walk the dog, that kind of thing. So you just don't have plans. Anyway, so we're at this point where I get this. It's the middle of the day. I was working, independent marketing consultant, and so like I was working from home, and I get this text message from my buddy Cody, and he sends me this ad up in Red Deer, which is 2.5 hours north of us, and it's for a Joust cocktail.
Is that north of Edmonton?
No. So it's 2.5 hours south of Edmonton. He sends me this ad for a Joust cocktail that's playing Bubble Bobble. Bubble Bobble's his like childhood game. It's one of mine too, because I had it on the Game Boy for many, many years. Actually, my copy's sitting right here behind me in the display case. And so I basically just messaged Vanessa. I'm like, hey, we don't have any plans today, do we? And she goes, no, why? And I said, well, I got to go to, Red Deer and pick up a game essentially. And she goes, oh, okay. But I could tell like from the conversation that she wasn't really enjoying the fact that I was just not canceling our not plans. And so, Cody comes, Cody was already like, he lives an hour south of me. So he was already, in the car on the way, because he knew the deal. Like you see a game comes up and he wanted it. He had no idea it was a Joust cocktail, but it was like for like $400. And he's like, you pay $200 for the cabinet, I'll pay $200 for the board. It was a bootleg Bubble Bobble board. We'll both go down and get it. Jumps in the car, we head there, and I'm thinking in the back of my head, maybe I've done something wrong with this girl that I've been seeing for 6 months. I've kind of screwed up. And sure enough, bring the game home, and Vanessa and I, she's pissed. Like she's sending me messages. She's like, can't believe, she's angry, disappointed. But when she gets home, or when I get home, she comes over and we chat. And the first thing she says to me when she comes through the door is, I'm sorry. And I'm like, what? She says, I'm sorry. She's like, I understand that A, these games were here first, and B, these games make you happy, and C, you're not crazy. You're not spending money that you don't have. So it was important for you to do that. So I respect that. Right there, I knew that this chick was cool, and I knew that I was going to keep her around for a while. And that's kind of like one of my anecdotes when it comes to like an emotional connection to a game. Now, sadly,
what did she say when you bought a Formula One cockpit? Formula 4.
Formula 4 cockpit. Well, Vanessa's a big Formula fan as well, Formula One fan as well. She's been a Formula One fan because we've known each other for 10 years now. And we dated, we started. I've known her like about 4 or 5 months before I've known Josh. And so we've been together for 10 years, and so she got in just before Netflix Drive to Survive came out. So she's one of those few people when you say, "Oh, I'm a Formula One fan," like, "Oh, did you watch Drive to Survive?" No, she actually enjoys Formula One. So when I said to her, like, I want to build this thing, because we had been coming back from our friend's place for the longest time, who had a simulator, and she knew that I really wanted one, and she was egging me on to do it. And I said, "Okay, here's my grand plan." And when that cockpit showed up, she just do it. Like, we have our own income. Both of us, we're dinks. We're dual income, no kids. So like, just do it. So, but yeah, anyway, long story short, that Joust cocktail, I mean, there's not many Joust cocktails. There was only, 500 of them. So they were pretty special. And then sadly, when I was given the opportunity from a friend of ours to buy his Tempest cocktail, one of the things that he was stalwart on that he did not want to get rid of, or he wanted part of the deal, was the Joust cocktail. And so first thing I did was I went to Vanessa and I said, like, "Hey, like, I know this game is important to us. Would you be disappointed if I traded it to Al?" And she goes, "No, get rid of it. Let's go."
So she didn't have any sentimental attachment to it. Just
no,
you.
But I did. Yeah. Because I mean, like, it was that moment where you realize that this chick you're seeing is cool. Like, I get a lot of flack for this, and I think, like, especially on the BYOAC, I must have ruffled some feathers when I brought this topic up.
Didn't you get kicked off of that forum?
I did, yeah. No, I left. I left and I took all my posts with me, but
voluntary self-ban.
Yeah, right. I'm very, I don't know. It's this depressing thing in our hobby, and it's almost every hobby, where, you know, you get something cool or you find something cool and you get lucky and you post it because you want to share it, and people are like, "Oh, I wish I could have that, but my wife won't let me." My response is always like, "Well, get a new wife, like, get a divorce." Like, if you're not with someone who unless you're a hoarder or spending rent and grocery money on your hobby, because that's wrong. Let's be honest. I've been very outspoken about, you know, if you're in a relationship with somebody and they're like, "Oh, you can't buy that. That's really dumb." Then, like, are you really in a relationship with that person?
Is this the fiscal responsibility podcast?
Yeah, right. No, but I don't know. My point is, I'm very grateful. I'm very thankful that Vanessa has always been understanding of my hobbies. And Josh has the same thing too. Josh's wife is very understanding, you know, when he wants to buy. She's encouraged him to buy pinball machines in the past. Right. So we're both, him and I are both very lucky that our significant others are really, you know, like, Vanessa's not going to come downstairs and help me rebuild a game, but you damn well bet she's going to hold that screw if I need, like, a second set of hands. She'll run down and help me with something.
Robertson screw. Let me say two things, though. So one, you were tempting fate by trading a Joust cocktail for a Tempest cocktail, because not only was that Joust cocktail critical to the formative moments of your relationship, Liam, what do we always say about Tempest cocktails?
Yeah.
Most of the posts on Caleb, it seems, involve divorce with those.
Yeah. That's the if you've ever, do you know anything about, like, kayaking or canoeing? Like, don't ever get a 2-person kayak because it's a divorce boat. Don't ever buy a Tempest because it's a divorce game.
Tempest cocktail.
Sorry, Tempest cocktail. Yeah.
So, and the other thing
is, it's been great.
The other thing is, you know, as wonderful as Vanessa is, you just said it. She's not going to come help you work on a game.
Well,
right?
No, that's
versus Liam and Sam, I think, have probably a relationship that is, you know, many of us are jealous of, because they actually work on the games together.
Hold on, you can't compare that. So, with the full respect that I just knew from the get-go that Vanessa had, she never had the DIY mentality. She never had the Let's just fix it. Let's clean it up. Let's restore it. That's just not her. She's got her own passions. Like, she is a massive Taylor Swift fan, and like to like the news, and that she's not like one of those crazy Swifties. She actually understands and is a lover of the music and the art form of it. And so, and she's got her own things, I never expected her to come downstairs and turn a wrench with me. The fact that Sam wants to do that, I love that. That's cool. Like, I'm not envious of that, because that's awesome that Liam has that. But I just know that, like, there's just different flavors in a relationship. What I'm saying is that it's unfortunate when somebody goes, "Oh, you shouldn't have that. Those are dumb." That's a person taking you down. Yeah. And I'm just grateful that, we're all in these situations where the person that we've chosen to be with is accepting of our craziness.
Well, and Liam, you are lucky, because the only other person I know, the only other husband and team duo that I'm aware of is Arcade Jason, and I'm blanking on his wife's name. He's mentioned it quite a Kelly, maybe, because I know
those streams.
Jeff Kinder's wife Katie is sometimes in his videos, and she'll like if he's putting on vinyl, she'll help with the other side or something like that. Yeah. But Arcade Jason's wife and Sam, your wife, like, do cap kits. They're rebuilding stuff. They're right. So tell us more about what it's like to have that sort of partnership.
It's just nice because I can talk about all the crap in the arcade, and Sam is right there with me. Like, oh yeah, no, we need to do this, and that, and she'll help me try to figure out and design parts or get things done. I mean, for example, Firefox would not be operational today if Sam had not designed the pieces necessary to fix the Laserdisc player. Yeah. So I am very grateful to have her on my side in terms of fixing things and getting everything worthwhile.
The fact that Sam has that technical prowess, like, that's awesome. I mean, and
she is a PhD mechanical engineer. She is the smartest person I've met. Yeah,
exactly, right. But the cool thing is, and I'm not envious of this. I'm like, that is so cool that you have someone that you can go to and you can speak at that level of, hey, here's this challenge that we have with this game, and you're going to bounce it off each other, and that's your thing, and that's extremely rare.
And she'll say, "Fine, Liam, I'll fix it for you."
Yeah.
You can't figure it out? Fine.
Yeah. And I know that will never be lost on you as such an amazing thing to have.
No.
And every time I see the 6-player X-Men behind you, I remember when she jumped out of the control panel.
you could live in that. You could live in that game. It's really, you have to see one in person to appreciate just how enormous the 6-player X-Men cabinet is.
It's like the G.I. Joe USS Flag aircraft carrier. So how about let's say a game that like, you got rid of the joust, but what's a game that you guys just could never get rid of for whatever reason?
I mean, there are plenty of those. I don't usually get rid of games, only if I've gotten a version of it that's better. But there are a few games that have like emotional stories attached to them. I think is a good segue from what you just said. Like, for example, our Firefox. I don't think I would ever get rid of the Firefox. It'd be one of the last machines out of here. I feel like it was entrusted to my care. I haven't told the Firefox story in a while, but basically what happened is I was just finished grad school. I was doing an interview for a job later in the day. I did the interview and I saw Firefox on Craigslist. It was $500. So basically nothing for a complete game in good condition. And I messaged the guy and was like, well, I'd love to try to fix it. I'll come get it. And sitting there talking to this guy, and he says, I know what this is. I know how much it's worth, but I really just want it to go to someone who can put it back together. Because it belonged to a friend of mine. And he bought it out of the arcade in 1984. And it was his pride and joy. He sat on a custom piece of carpet in his living room. And he passed away, but the machine had died in like 2005. And I took it on to prevent it from going to the dump, but he couldn't get it going. So I was like, well, I want to make sure that it works. So I'm going to sell it to you for this. And it comes with all the spare parts on the condition that if you get this thing working, send me video of the thing actually working. So it was really, really nice of him to do that. So we took the machine home and we did get it working about a month later. And I sent him video of the machine when it was back to full operational status. And he apparently took that video and shared it around to all the original guys' friends, and they were all super happy to see the machine working again. So I was extremely happy for that. One of the things I found when we were working on the machine was in the coin box. It was a handwritten high score sheet from the original family that had the machine and all their best attempts. And it's still in there. I left it in the coin box. I thought that was a cute thing to leave in there, and it's going to stay there. But I just thought that was like bittersweet, I would say. And I definitely would not be willing to get rid of that Firefox ever.
Wow.
What about you, Chance?
I don't know. You always think like you see these people who like get into a hobby and then they just like they yeet out of it, right? Like they're either in it for a couple of years, they're in it for a couple of decades, and then they just take off. But there's that lucky few, or that stalwart few that kind of stay in the hobby as long as possible. And I think no matter what, I think my mantra going into this hobby was I don't have room for anything back in the day. And that's why I have a purple Donkey Kong, is because I didn't think I was ever going to be lucky enough to have more than one Nintendo cabinet. I built that Flynn's arcade cabinet, which was my MAME cabinet on the BYOAC, and that was a very successful project. And
Really popular post too.
It was like, I think up until I deleted all the content off of it to cross myself off the BYOAC, because I felt bad that I was bringing people to the BYOAC and that they were just basically getting lambasted by all the trolls that were there, trying to tell them they had to do things this way or had to do things that way. And I think that, going back to it, it was that like, I'm never going to have the space for the games that I really want, the games that I remember from my childhood. So let's build a MAME cabinet, and then let's find a Nintendo cabinet so I can build a Donkey Kong cabinet. But I want all the DKs. I want all the Nintendo games. I want Versus, maybe Play Choice one day. And I never thought I'd have that space. So, I built that purple Donkey Kong cabinet, and people look at it and they're like, what is this? This looks weird. When I bespoke purple harness, with an arcade SD, because like I couldn't fathom at that time, like how to fit all these Nintendo boards in there and make it work. I was so new to the hobby. So I just grabbed an arcade SD from Phoenix and threw all the 4-way Nintendo DK games and variants on there. And I think that like over time, as my collection grew, I was very meticulous at picking out only the things on my list that I really wanted, or something would fall into my lap that I didn't know existed or I hadn't had an experience playing, and I kind of hold on to it. I have a hard time thinking or getting rid of anything that I have, because I've been very so specific about picking specific games.
Yeah, same.
Right. And you have this collection, so it's like I don't just bring everything into the fold, right?
Yeah, like I said, the only times we've gotten rid of something has been generally because we got a better version of the same game. We got rid of the 4-player X-Men because we got a 6-player X-Men.
Exactly. But for me, it was like I got rid of something because I'm like, why did I get this in the first place? Like,
yeah,
I can count on one hand how many games I've gotten rid of. And I know the first game I ever sold, the first game I ever parted with, was my Centipede. Because I got that Centipede for like 500 Canadian. It was from another collector in town. And I bought it. We moved into this house that we're currently in now about 8-9 years ago. And I was like, why? Like I always, rag on Ms. Pac-Man and Pac-Man. Like I don't get or enjoy the gameplay. There's nothing that the gameplay clicks in me that I want to keep that game. And Centipede was the same thing for me, but it's on that tier list of, you tell somebody you have an arcade that's not in the hobby and they're like, oh, do you have Galaga? Do you have Ms. Pac-Man? Do you have Centipede? And it's like up there. So I felt like I needed to have a Centipede, but like
it's one of Sam's favorites.
Well, and I know y'all love it, but it just doesn't register in my brain as a fun game, and that's fine. I'll take the.
That's enough a chance.
So
Just kidding.
I'll take the slander and the hate because that's a personal preference. I'm very subjective, but I'll tell you what. The absolute moment we got back from the UK, and we did that episode on the Canadian Arcade about Sheriff and going to England with Alex. I got back and we posted, it took us a few months. We edited the video, we posted up online. The absolute moment that video went live, within like a day, I had someone message me and go, "Hey, I've got something that you want." And it was a Sheriff cocktail. And at that point, I looked at my entire collection. I'm like, what is the low-hanging fruit? What do I want to get? I didn't even have to finish the thought in my head. The Centipede had to go. And that's pretty much it. Games that come into my collection. And I reflected on that one day. And I was like, you know what? Like any of the games that I just bought on a whim, they're going out first. But any of the games that I've actually like wanted from, childhood or have this sentimental value, with the exception of, I guess, the Joust cocktail. But again, that went to a good home. That went to one of our best friends. And I have first right of refusal on it. And I know that was his absolute must-have game. So that was part of the whole thing. And Vanessa was okay with it. She was fine. She knew that I wanted to finish my Atari cocktail row, bar height row. And so that kind of made it okay. But for the most part, like I'm not going to bring anything into my collection unless I want it.
Yeah, there are definitely some games here that never ever would be sold. That would be like Firefox, Qbert, Inferno, that kind of thing. Those are never leaving.
Well, and for me, a lot of it is like, how much of myself did I put into the game, right?
Yeah.
Like, even though Centipede was my first, I didn't put much blood, sweat, and tears into the game, so that would not be anywhere near the top of the list of games that I got rid of. But if it came down to it, that wouldn't be the last one that I got rid of. And as much of a pain as Nintendo cocktails are, right? There was so much of me that went into the Donkey Kong Jr. cocktail restoration that I could never get rid of that. Pango was a huge restoration that I enjoyed every second of it. But Carnival was really just, fixing the monitor up, and that was it. So I could see myself getting rid of Carnival one day. And as much as I don't like Kangaroo, like that was sort of an interesting journey, getting that cabinet and restoring it and everything. So for me, a lot of it is, because for me, most of this hobby is the repair, the restoration work, right? Mm-hmm. Like I enjoy playing them, I enjoy collecting them, but it's fixing them, which is really what gets to me.
It's like that 90%.
A lot of ours are total restorations. All but one of our Williams games are complete salvages.
Yeah. Well, and one game in particular that I mentioned earlier, that's really special to me, and even more so now, is that Moon Patrol cocktail, right? And I think I mentioned this in the pickup video, but I got that like 2 years ago this month, right? And one of the things that I do is whenever I travel, I always look around. And I drive a ton. I like flying, but I hate airlines. So I actually have a very high tolerance for road trips, right? Like I'll drive to Nashville. I'll drive to Chicago. I thought about driving to Houston, but
you won't drive to Alberta. What's the deal?
I won't drive to Alberta. That's true. And for this one, this was the game that I got. I was coming back from Connecticut. My father had taken a turn for the worse health wise. He was suffering from pretty advanced dementia, and it was at the point where my mother just couldn't care for him on his own. So I was actually up there to help them move into a assisted living sort of facility, right? Getting them all squared away. And so they were moved, so not only that, right, and the emotional sort of impact of that, and moving my parents out of my childhood home and sort of that sort of thing. But anyway, that didn't stop me from, checking Facebook Marketplace, like on my way home, right? And this was the one where it was essentially an estate sale. The son was selling his father's games, and the story was his dad was a small-time operator back in the day, but enjoyed it and like had a resurgence where he was sort of fixing up games and whatever. And his overflow storage was like a temporary garage set up in the backyard, almost like a tent, like poles and not canvas, but like plastic sort of sheets or whatever, like a temporary carport type of thing.
Yeah.
And he had maybe 24. That was his overflow storage, and he had like 24 games in that. And his father had passed, and a couple months had gone by, and the weather had gotten into it. So and most of these cabinets were just a total loss. And when I was talking with him, and I ended up getting the Moon Patrol cocktail. Turns out his father had passed away from the same thing that my dad was going through, right? So yeah, that sort of added another thing. And I kind of had been putting off working on that cabinet, but I think I will be prioritizing that again, because my father passed away last week, finally, sort of a blessing, because he had been fading really, really hard for a while. It'd been over a year since he was able to sort of have a conversation, and that little link that cabinet has with him, and that sort of stage of things will be another sort of special link. So
I think it's
First,
time you
my
work on that game.
condolences, but,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Second,
As well.
I feel that actually. My dad, when I bought a Mortal Kombat machine in high school and fixed it up, and that was technically my first machine, but I didn't really start collecting until Sam and I got together. But when I got the Mortal Kombat working, my dad would not shut up about Joust. That was the game that he and his brother played constantly, because they were both sword fighting Renaissance fair.
Yeah,
people.
I know you had mentioned that.
So while they were doing that, they were playing Joust, and they loved that game. So when I finally did get a converted Joust cab, got it all fixed up, and I was thinking about him the whole time that we were restoring it. And it says on the screen, we've got it saying, in memory of Stuart on the title screen. If you come into our arcade and see it, it'll say that.
Wow,
So I
awesome.
feel that link there.
I think this speaks to a bigger thing that I never want to forget. And it's that we're just custodians. And I don't think we ever really, you see drama show up on Clov, or you see someone like asking for too much money for something, or people really getting into it, or getting disappointed because they're
like that Invaders being flipped today.
But it's like at the end of the day, wood, steel, and artwork is, I'm not going to say it's forever, because it can still be destroyed. But wood, steel, and artwork that makes up arcade games is going to outlive a lot of us. I could wake up dead tomorrow. I always quote The Simpsons on that. I could wake up dead tomorrow. I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. And some people are like, well, don't say that. You're gonna. No, I've come to the fact to realize that I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. And in the time that I've had on this earth, what have I done to help the people around me with the hobby? When it comes, like, aside from the serious conversations about what have I done to leave my mark and provide for the people that are important around me, but when it comes to the hobby very specifically, what have I done to give back to the hobby? What have I done to document what's almost gone missing? What have I done to restore the games? What have I done to create a restoration or a project cabinet into something that my friends can then share with their children? What have I done to make a mark on this hobby? And I think that's really something that drives me personally, is that, like, okay, so,
Your legacy.
The legacy, essentially, right? No one's going to remember Chance Johnson 20 years from now. There's some stupid loudmouth Albertan who, helped make these little boards that made our Data East pinball machines not make this loud hum noise, with help of, our friend Jeff. These silly YouTube videos that are on the Canadian arcade that, that taught me how to restore a Nintendo joystick or how to clean an arcade monitor. Okay. So that's part of the legacy that I'm going to hopefully help and give back. I find a piece of artwork, or I find a piece of or a manual or something that I know doesn't exist. You better bet I'm going to scan that. And I went out and I got a scanner just so I could do that.
Someone is going to end up with my Inferno one day and be very happy.
Absolutely. And
they'll be looking for joysticks though.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out at some point. I will finish this. I'm hoping to finish it this year.
But like I get picked on all the time from friends in the film industry when I say like, oh yeah, just go look at my Flickr profile, because they're like, you're like one of the 10 people on the planet that still has Flickr. No, I'm one of the 10 people on the planet that actually pays for Flickr, because every time I do a restoration, every time I do a game pickup or anything, I document the ever living crap out of that.
You need to get an image instance.
A what?
Image. It's like Flickr, but free, and you can host it yourself.
Oh,
sound like Claw Image?
No.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I should probably do that, because now that I think about it, like that won't have the longevity. If I die and my credit card stops like paying for my Flickr Pro, all that stuff's going to disappear. I probably I should offload that data somewhere. But yeah. You just sent me the link for image. Yeah, but who's going to, again, that's not something that lasts forever, because, I'm hosting it myself, but I get hit by a bus tomorrow. You sure bet that Vanessa's going to sell everything I have, including my NAS.
10,000 years from now, none of this.
None of it matters.
Maybe there might be ROMs somewhere, but look on my work, see mighty in despair.
We're all
as far as like interesting tearjerk arcade stories, though. What is the one pickup, or like what is the thing that got away as far as pickups go or deals go? I could think of one that comes to mind for me.
Let's hear
ahead.
Is Dark Planet, of all machines.
Dark Planet.
There have been a lot of machines that I've seen listings for or something, and it's gone, and I felt bad about it. Like 5 or 6 Star Wars that were in great prices, but I just couldn't do it at the time. But this Dark Planet popped up. For those that don't know, it's a Stern game. Very weird. It's got a plastic molded play field and multiple mirrors to give it a 3D effect. So it does with red and blue.
And doesn't it have like a longer official name? Something in 3D or something?
Yeah, Dark Planet in 3D.
How do I not know about this game?
It's a really weird game, crazy complicated. Anyway, one of these things pops up. It was found in like a barn or something in New Hampshire, and it was just not a good time for me. I could not afford a Dark Planet for what they go for, even remotely. Yeah, Stern Dark Planet.
Looks like a helmet.
But I've talked about it a bit, and the guy who found it actually reached out to me and was like, "Hey, you seem like you are interested in this thing and know what it's all about. I'll make you a really good deal on it." And it was, admittedly an incredible deal that the guy was offering me on the cabinet. I have bought lesser games for way more than what he was offering me. But I just could not do it at the time. And I think he ended up selling it for like triple what he offered it to me to someone else, which, good for him, but it still stings every now and then. I think about the Dark Planet.
It almost looks like an EM game.
Yeah, it does have that look, but it's
game.
really cool. I played it at Galloping Ghost, and when I played it at Galloping Ghost, this was after that, I was like,
what's the deal with this? So is that like it's like a mirror overlaying?
So that's what I was so curious about. And part of the reason I wanted to get it was to tear it apart and figure out how it worked. But it does have a set of mirrors it overlays, which is why it has a narrow view slit on the front.
Yeah,
it's because you have to be at a very specific height to get the effect to work properly.
So there's a picture here from Pixelated Arcade. It looks like you're looking down on like the only way I can describe it is like a miniature from the movie Aliens.
Yes, so it is a miniature playfield, and the game matches up with that. So it basically takes place in 2 levels. There's enemies that work on the ground and enemies and things that work in the air, and they have different patterns, and you can move between them. So the ground is displayed in red, and the air is displayed in blue, and it uses
like a
the
diorama
filters
to
separate them.
That's really cool. How have I never heard about this game?
Yeah, exactly. So this is why it still stings. I think about it every time someone mentions like the one that a bad pickup or something. I missed out on a Dark Planet, and I know I will never ever have the chance to buy one for that price again.
Man, you always think like around the time that I got into this hobby, I always think like there were pinball machines for $150 or $200, or there was like arcade games. Like Josh will always bring this up every time I bring up ice cold beer. He had seen an ice cold beer online for sale on Kijiji for like $800, and I think he could have just got it. Like it sat there for a little bit and nobody wanted it, but now it's like a $4,000 game. I was looking at Pinside today. If you go onto Pinside and you pick a specific game, they've got a graph and it shows, I think as far back as they've been calculating this data is like 2017, and it shows all of the versions of that game that have sold, instances of that game that have sold on Pinside, and or when you report that data of what you bought it for. And so they've got price graphs, and you can just see, like I went and I checked all three, my Rocky and Bullwinkle and Friends and my Playmatic Chance and my Eldorado, and like I could just see that there were certain times when the value of them cycled or like spiked through the roof. Sadly, that Playmatic Chance is only ever worth $800, but I digress. It's really interesting to see that, like, not too distantly in the past, we could have spent very little on a game, but now that all of these people that had this, the people that grew up in this era have this disposable income, and they can go back and find their childhood games. It's funny. One more part to this. Josh and I were just at a place in Calgary called Rec Room Games. It's a chain of like redemption games and whatnot across Canada, run by like one of the major theater chains in Canada. And we were at this like crew party for the show that we're working on, because we always have this like cast and crew wrap party at the end of every show. And they had it at this like arcade, which I have been very openly critical in the past. And he says, how close do you think that we are to people wanting, like, he looked at like one of these like ticket redemption games, like a coin pusher. He's like, how close do you think we are to people wanting one of these because they played it, in an arcade not long ago? And it's true. We're kind of getting to that point where like rail shooters, like these, late generation Time Crisis games, or, Luigi's Mansion, very soon people are going to want those games, and they're not going to care about your Jousts and your Robotrons and your Moon Patrols, right?
I mean, some people want them. What's the? Isn't there one like it's the Wheel of Fortune one where it spins around? You got to hit the button for it to.
Oh, the one that Mark Rober did a video on YouTube and like totally proved that the thing is an absolute scam.
Well, I mean, a lot of them have basically like scam settings.
Yeah.
Right. Like you can make the claw machine not strong enough to pick anything up.
And that's what I tell people about my claw, because I've got a claw game downstairs. Like I see, there's a setting that I can tweak on this that will not let you win. I don't know.
And to your original question, Liam, I don't think for me there is really any one deal that I missed that keeps me up at night. Certainly not anything that was on my must-have list. It's not like I've been snaked on a great deal on a Spy Hunter sit down or something like that, right? One that I do remember that was relatively early was I was second in line on a complete Punch Out for $75, right? Which would have been an amazing deal, right? But it's not like that's not a game that's in my top 10 or anything like that. There was somewhat recently, and Liam, you saw this too because we were talking about it. Not too far away from me, somebody was selling some stuff, including an ice cold beer for a very reasonable price. I want to say like $100 or something like that.
Yeah, I missed out on that one.
Yeah, we both missed out there. And again, that
I almost had a pickup time for that set, but I just couldn't. She really wanted two strong and to pick up, and I could not convince her that I could move a game.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't. Maybe she wasn't looking for the game.
I don't know. She's probably 3 or 4 times Liam's age.
All right.
Yeah. But yeah.
I think the only time I've ever had an instance where like I lost out on something, because again, I've been so particular about the games that I wanted, was very early on, I was looking for a Space Duel. Like this is before the Canadian arcade. I hadn't really ever played it before, but there was something about Space Duel that I wanted it to be my first vector game. I really appreciated the theme. The color was like, I'd seen one in person. And again, this is back, when I was dating Vanessa. We were very early in our relationship. She was working for a company where she did a lot of travel. And every time that she traveled up in Edmonton, I would follow her. And, because the company would pay for a hotel room. And because I could work anywhere with my marketing job, I would just, head up to Edmonton for a couple of days, said nobody else ever. And I remember sitting in the hotel room while she was off tending to all the stores and locations that she had to manage and kind of review. It was back for, she was working for Buffalo Jeans or something, and she was responsible for all of Western Canada. And I get this email or this text message from one of my friends going, "Hey, this game just showed up on Kijiji. I thought you might be interested." They had no idea I was looking for a Space Duel. It had been, gutted, and it was a project cabinet. And I'm like, I'm going to go get that. I want to get that right now. I messaged the guy. I'm like, I'm going to be back in Calgary tomorrow afternoon. I will come straight there. I'll give you $500 that you're asking. I'll give you $550. Like, let's do it. And literally got on the road that night. And the next day the guy messages me and he's like, "Yeah, looks like my roommates downstairs wanted it. So they came up and they gave me the same money." And I was like, "Yeah, no, somebody else bought that out from under me." And I was like, I was chapped because I was like, I really wanted that game. And I think it's really the only time that I ever felt like I got like had the carpet pulled out from under me. But
I had some good deals. I thought I was going to get on eBay, and then the snipers swooped in.
Yeah, I didn't feel like the carpet got pulled out from under me about Dark Planet. It was just the wrong time, the right opportunity in the wrong time. But I've had that happen. The carpet get pulled out with a few machines, like a Tempest for, I think it was like $100-something. I was in the car on the way when they were like, actually sold it.
Yeah, somebody else came, but that's it. That speaks to like the honor among sellers, right? Like that's why that this Miss Pac-Man that we picked up a couple of days ago was so awesome, because we were first, and for $600 Canadian for Miss Pac-Man, like, I mean, that doesn't seem like much.
I'm gonna have to start tagging you on things, Chance, and call it a typical East Coast deal, because we got a bunch of West Coast guys in the Discord that are always, like dying over, like, like I'll post something that none of us really want, but you're like, oh, like an empty Midway cabinet for $50, typical East Coast deal, right?
But it's like it's location and availability, right? Like a lot of people, anytime a red tent comes up in Alberta or Saskatchewan, like somebody posts it. I understand. I now respect the fact that red tents are fairly uncommon for the most part, but I have two, and 3 of my closest friends each have one.
It's called a red camp at that point.
Well, yeah, but like there's so many people that were like, "Oh, I'd give my left arm for a Nintendo red tent," and it's like, well, it's a regional thing, right? We had a Nintendo distributor in the middle of the prairies in Saskatchewan. I believe it was Regina at Rainbow. I can't remember the name. I know Wayne's going to jump in and on the chat and tell us exactly what it was. But we went there. We did a pickup for Cody's red tent, and the lady was like, "Yeah, back in the day, we had 140 of them sitting here in the room," and I was like, it's just crazy. But it was a regional thing, right? Or all those people that are closer to Nintendo of America up in the Seattle Redmond area. Of course, you're going to see rare things show up more commonly. But yeah.
Yeah, our Inferno came from somewhere near the Chicago area, so that's where they were all sent out.
Yeah.
Well, and going back to Lloyd from Coin Op Warehouse, when I got the red tent monitor from him, I actually got two. And he was saying, "Oh, I didn't even know I had those. Those must be my last," because he had a whole wall of monitors, right? Like the end of the warehouse was a wall of like pallet jacks full of monitors. And he's like, "Oh, those must be my last two." I remember back in the day, I used to, I can't tell you how many red tents I took to the dumpster because nobody wanted them.
Yeah.
But look at all these cool people showing up in the live chat at the end, right? Like this drives me nuts. Like we have, usually it's Mike's Arcade, but we've got Brandon, which I think is Off-World Arcade's burner account. We got Steve Lady, aka Mosaic, Catcher 311. Who else? We got JoJo from the Wicked Arcade. We've got the Timescales, which I think is a Doctor Who a YouTube channel, which is really cool. So thank you all. Sprint Star's been here a bit, but yeah. Anyway, guys, it is late. We started late. I got work tomorrow. I got sick kids. I got to hit the hay. So why don't we go around the horn?
I got a pizza that just showed up.
There you go. Well, why don't you go first, Chance? Tell us who you are and remind everyone where they can find you.
So I'm Chance. I'm one half, the lesser half of the Canadian Arcade. You can find us on YouTube at the Canadian Arcade. We're about to hit I think 12,000 subscribers. I think. I don't know. We haven't really been posting much in the last little bit because we've been working in the film industry. But and just to prove it, because we talked about this earlier, we have a new video coming. I don't want to give too much away. But yeah, we have a new video coming soon on the Canadian Arcade. Josh and I do a pickup of him as Pac-Man.
Target release first half of 2025.
Yeah, right. And we post a ton of stuff on Instagram when possible, so you can check us out on Instagram as well.
And Liam, tell us about Retrobotics.
Yes, I am one half of Retrobotics. You can find me on KLove under 64-bit, or find us on YouTube under Retrobotics. Content every now and then. We did post a video of our Torb-free arcade shuffle recently. And soon there will be another video on Inferno. I have tried to be ambitious on it. I've done a ton of research. I don't know how much it will pan out, but I'm hoping it will be a moderate production value video for us by our scale anyway. We're definitely not going for any Canadian arcade style, but hopefully
nice.
This
is really good though. I really enjoy your content.
So there will be an Inferno video coming in the next couple weeks. So excited for that.
Can we plug Kay? Because he's not here today, and I think that's only appropriate.
Yeah, just tell
Kay from Prime Arcade. He used to do TikToks, then TikTok got banned, so he's been doing a lot more on YouTube. So look for Prime Arcade TX on YouTube. And I'm Charlie from Overtime Arcade. If you're watching this live, you're watching it on my YouTube channel. I want to give a special thank you to all of the Overtime Arcade channel members who support the channel, in particular Random Billy Bob and Galaga Guy 88 for their super chat donations, and White Fox for gifting channel memberships. And I will post, like I said, a link, a members only link in the community tab right after the live stream for the new channel members to go check out the Discord. So yeah, I think that'll do it. This has been episode 24 of the Coin Jam podcast. Thanks for watching. And if I remember how to do this, I will play us out.